Good afternoon, everybody. I intend to keep this brief. But before I dive in, just a little introduction to myself. For those of you who I've not met before, my name's Kate Houghton. I'm a planner. I work in the Planning and Development Delivery Division of Planning, Architecture and Regeneration Directorate of the Scottish Government. And at the moment, I'm very much focused on housing delivery, so a lot of work around the housing emergency. I'm sure you'll all know by now, of course, that the Scottish Government declared a housing emergency in May 2024. And that follows on from 13 local authorities declaring a housing emergency as well. So just a little background in terms of, I suppose, why we're here today, what the inspiration for this event was. I think to start with, it's important to say that planning hasn't caused the housing emergency, but we do think that it has a very important role to play in helping to find solutions. The planning system has kind of supported delivery of housing through consenting planning permission for quite a generous supply of land. Our analysis this time last year gave a high-level estimate of at least 164,000 homes yet to be built out. That is, of course, a live figure because units are consented, obviously, on a rolling basis, and they're completed on a rolling basis as well. And that is a high-level estimate, but nonetheless, I think it provides an important context, which is that we know there is land out there that is allocated and that is consented. And we're in a place right now where we want to make sure that that land is getting built out at pace in response to the housing emergency. So why are we here today in the context of that? Well, we want to talk really about the enabling role for planning that has in that, going beyond statutory processes to support delivery of positive outcomes as agreed, partly through development plans, of course, but through other strategies as well. I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, will know that since January 2025, Scottish Government have been working closely as part of a short life working group to remove barriers to delivery on stalled housing sites. So the Short Life Working Group included HOPS, it also included Homes for Scotland, the Scottish Property Federation and the SFHA, as well as ourselves at the Scottish Government. And the group collaboratively identified 114 sites across Scotland, which covered just over 20,000 units. And the focus of that group was to try and identify and overcome barriers to the delivery of those sites. And doing that by building consensus around the actions that were required to overcome barriers, and to demonstrate some forward momentum in making progress on getting those sites delivered. Where we are, October, 10 months now, 10 months into that project. And I think it's really highlighted the complexity of the challenges to delivery, which I'm sure all of us in this virtual room know well about the complexity. But I think like I said, it's really highlighted the complexity of it, how long-standing some of those challenges and some of those barriers are, and how interconnected they are. And that, of course, they're also not always attributable to the planning system, but the planning system sits in a place where it has a potential role in helping to find a way through. In terms of the stall sites work itself, it took a twin track approach. The Scottish Government offered site-specific brokerage on 10 sites within 7 authority areas. I won't talk about that element of it today. And what I'm going to focus on is the strategic actions approach that the Short Life Working Group took, which was an approach to issues which we found to be recurring across all of those sites that had been identified. Issues that we have completed work in terms of those issues are there was affordable housing supply, flooding, specialist expertise provided through the National Planning Hub, drainage, transport, roads and rail, education, brownfield, water vols, and finally, market interest and viability. Now, in terms of viability, that was a strategic issue which I was charged of looking into some of the sites where that had been identified as a barrier to delivery. And as I spent some time digging into those sites and scratching beneath the surface, it became clear that really there was a bit of a fundamental challenge to delivery, in that whatever the viability challenge was, whether that in terms of kind of financial interest, whether that was about remediation cost, whether it was about infrastructure requirements, and whether it was about a lack of house builder interest, in many cases, really, is that the market appetite for development was just not as strong as we would like it to be to help in overcoming those challenges. There's not one single action that we think we can take to address that. But as I've already alluded to, I think we do believe there's a role for planning in promoting investment in sites that have been allocated, that have been consented, and trying to actively seek out opportunities for delivery. So just to kind of finish up in terms of the context, I suppose why the focus on that delivery right now. We know that authorities and agencies are very busy working on new local development plans. Well, I've already mentioned that that focus on, we know there is already a supply of housing land in the system, and we want to make sure that that is coming forward as quickly as possible. And I think secondly, also just looking further ahead, it's thinking about how we make sure that deliverability is included as a consideration through the preparation of new LDPs. We know planning can't solve the housing emergency alone, but we do think it has a leadership role in connecting interests and helping everyone to navigate that complexity that I've mentioned in terms of barriers to delivery, and pressing for shared accountability on delivery. That's all I wanted to say, other than just a huge thank you to Debbie, Garry and Sharon for the contributions that they're going to make today. We know that they're all extremely busy and really appreciate their time. Thank you also to colleagues at the Hub for all the hard work you've done organising today. And thank you all of you for coming. It's great to see that we've got 110 attendees. That's fantastic. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from Sharon, from Garry and from Debbie, and to the discussion afterwards as well. As Andy's already said, the Q&A function is activated, so please do drop any questions that come to you during the presentations there. Otherwise, I'm very happy to take questions at the end as well. And if folk just put their hands up, then we're happy to chair it that way. It would be great in particular I think to hear any reflections on the way that things are done in this respect in other authorities, and how we make this work in different contexts. So I will stop there and I will hand over to Sharon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sharon Marklow. I am the Service Manager for Planning and Building Standards here at Stirling Council, and I'm going to take you through what has been known as the Stirling experience. So essentially, I will... Is that moved then, Andy, just to make sure that I'm not talking to the same slide?
You're on slide 2 now.
Super dupers. Okay, so the Stirling experience. So I'll start with what is the planning section at Stirling. So we do have, we're very, very fortunate, I think, to have a range of experience and skills amongst our great planners at Stirling Council. And so we've got a kind of I suppose a whole age range within that as well, which is brilliant, and it's great to see young planners coming through as well. Within development planning, we've got around about 10 bodies. So these when I say bodies, it's absolutely every planner is very, very much experienced in a range of skills. And then in development management, we've got around about circa 12 individual planners as well. So what sort of, I think, I've been at Stirling only 2 years or so, but what I've seen from the main thing from Stirling is the collaboration both internally and externally. And I hope people on this call will agree as well. So that's really, really, Kate talked about enablers and Kate talked about solutions, and I feel that planners are absolutely that, but we also need a great network round about us, and internally are the guys that we've got in relation to that help us day to day, like everywhere. Our local authority, our environmental health officers, our roads officers are brilliant at doing that, but also externally, I have to say, what we do is get a great range of support from everybody externally as well. And it is about that, taking people on a journey, because I think in some cases that we get embroiled day to day in all the kind of wee things that we get involved in, and we forget that the likes of our key agencies, for instance, have got a lot of different local authorities to sort of manage and assist and help. And we've got to remember that people, even within a roads section, pick up things and put down things. So planners are there to sort of glue everybody together, and then that's about that prioritisation and the projects that we need to sort of get that external help and the internal help as much as we possibly can do. And I do feel that the planners at Stirling Council do that really, really well, because we invest the time in the wee things, I get that, but we also should be investing it in the time and energy on exactly the right projects to again deliver in one very, very important things such as a housing emergency. So I'm going to take forward a project that I've got that's been in Stirling for quite a wee while, and that's because again the range and experience and what the planners have put into it here at Stirling, and also the internal consultees and also the external consultees that just think, oh my God, what is this beast we've got? It's called Jury's Hill, and it is a beast because it's a massive site, but it's been really in the planning for quite some time. So planners have done their absolute utmost here to do it from a plan-led approach, and that's exactly what we've done really, really well here. And I feel like I get quite a fake, because a lot of the hard work's already been done, because we've already got planning consent in for a massive amount of 3,042 homes, signed Section 75 in place. You can see just the number of private homes is 25% delivery on site. That comes with a business park, it comes with a community campus, there's schools, there's all sorts of things there, and significant amounts of open space. You can just see on there the amount of green that's round about Jury's Hill. So Jury's Hill is to the south of Stirling. It's just in the edge of Bannockburn, and you've got the M8, you've got the M9 corridors, you've got you've got a lot of things round about, but we need to create this as a place, and I suppose that's the big thing about place promotion and housing delivery, is it's not all just about the numbers, and it's about creating that place. And as I say, the planning history which is on there, you can see as we've went through, it's been in the offing for quite some time, and really planners have done a great job in getting it to a fantastic place. The recent we've had recent application in again. You'll see there for it's not 3,042 plus an additional 543. That's a change of house types, believe it or not. And then the first school's ready to be submitted as well. So we've done a great amount of work in that short space of time. So what is the thing called Jury's Hill? So it was something that was acquired. It was Springfield Homes were again, it was their baby for quite some time, and they've worked alongside Stirling Council greatly. Recently, they changed hands, and it was acquired by Barrett Redrow. And again, so for us at Stirling, we thought, Jings, we're starting again. We can't do this. And so essentially it's the partnership we had to form very, very, very quickly with Barrett Redrow to say, right guys, we've got a lot of stuff here. We can't unravel all this good work. Let's start with delivering the master plan, and we're all committed to delivering that master plan. And there's a lot of different things behind that. The design codes, there's design briefs, there's a huge amount of stuff behind that. Is what comes with something as such a size and scale. So Barrett are fully committed to delivering the new sustainable community, and so are Stirling Council, because it's massive, and it's massive for us to get off the ground. So a 20 to 30 year project, as you would expect for these kind of things. And the progress so far, I like to say, infrastructure first. So we're doing all the things that MPF4 wants us to do. So we are delivering and helping Barrett with the infrastructure first. So what's going in first is an active travel route, getting the right things in place first, and just making sure that it starts with the idea of a sustainable village. It starts with thinking about not looking for the car. So essentially, we're looking to do that, get the infrastructure in, and then there's going to be a lot of muck shifting for a number of years, is what is expected by these kind of sites. You'll see here, this was done by Barrett. They did a recent presentation to our elected members, who greatly received, and no wonder when you can see some of the numbers that's in there. There's some big numbers. So housing investment is so important for all of us to get through and enable, because they big numbers need to be generated into investment back into our area and back into our infrastructure, and really getting some spend in the surrounding areas. So you can just see how important the big numbers are. And then Barrett will always tell you how much they're putting in terms of developer contributions. And they're putting in a fair few, but so is Stirling Council. And that's where the partnership needs to sort of look at and work out school delivery. It's about infrastructure in terms of your junction capacity. It's about working in these sort of things. But it's also about planners investing their time. And that's never quantified here. And there's a lot of effort is put in by a lot of people to try and move this forward. So you can see we've legally got what we can out of the developers here, and they tell us that that's a lot, but it sometimes just scratches the surface, I have to say. But however, working in these kind of things. So where do I come in? So essentially, I was involved in a thing called a simplified planning zone in the past, and when master plan consent areas come in to replace that, I thought, right, this is great. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at where we can throw this. They can sort of really see where or not this can simplify things for us, because although Jury's Hill we've done phenomenal as planners to get it to this point, I need to get it faster, because everything I do is, even the way that you can tell by the speed of me talking, I like to do everything as fast as I possibly can to make sure that we get the best out of everything, I suppose, is the main thing. So we looked at this in terms of Stirling Council, and we looked at master plan consent areas, and you'd all kind of know the background, introduced through the new Act, again, to try and move things forward as a plan-led system. But how do we deliver in that plan-led system, on all the kind of bits and pieces, and all the dates are all up there for you. And we were one of the early adopters, and we put ourselves forward, and we want to try and just give it a go, really, and see if it works, and see if we can get houses delivered faster. So I suppose if in terms of that, it's what is a master plan consent, new streamlined proactive planning consent mechanism, and I have to say, if there's anything that can cut through any of the sort of time and processes, I'll look for it. I certainly don't want to make my life any harder, and I certainly don't want to make any external or internal consultees' lives any harder as well. And essentially, we want to all do the same thing, is to deliver good places. So I certainly think this is something that we need to look at. Enables councils to shape their areas, and we've got a master plan. So I said, well, we've already got a master plan. How can we? It's the process. I'm more sort of wanting to look at here. It's the outcomes that I want to get delivered, and I don't really want to go through all the ins and outs of submitting planning applications for things that we've probably already get a good idea what we're all trying to do. So again, allowing councils to set expectations around the quality and delivery. I think quality, we've already set that expectation, and I think I've tackled master plan consents in a probably different way, but Andy can tackle it in different sort of ways, shape or form. And I think it's mainly that second bit, is to support the delivery of the development plan, and also ensure that we support the delivery again of good places. So the main thing I had to get across to my elected members when we were looking at these kind of things, because people are a wee bit dubious, and people think, oh wow, what we thrown out here. We're not throwing anything out. It's because it's going to be led by local authorities in collaboration with everybody else that's round about. So we've got a great, even in that short space of time, we've got a great relationship with Barrett Redrow, and again, they want to deliver houses. We want to see houses getting delivered. So that's the kind of main thing. And we're still going to take the leadership role, which I think, in terms of going back to our senior management and back to our elected members, that's the important bit, that we're still trying to create that end goal of high quality places. And what we want to do is not get snarled up, I would say, and just the kind of ins and outs of things that I don't know, does planners love sometimes? I don't know. But essentially, we are looking to try and drive certainty. So as soon as we did that, we said to Barrett like that, we'd get this consent through as soon as possible. You could tell that would be the case. But essentially, what we were trying to do is to make sure that it's a certainty. And from that, huge site, Barrett Redrow, even though they've got all the Barrett, David Wilson homes and Redrow now, they're not going to deliver this on their own. There's no chance. So they need to encourage others to come on. And from that, we've already got additional house builders coming saying, if there's certainty, if it's easier, let's give it a go. This sounds quite good. So, and again, what I'm trying to do from me as a chief planner, but also from my colleagues and the planners that I deal in my team day to day have to deal with me, is to try and stop that complexity of the multiple applications. Because our first application we got in was for a change of house types, and it was extremely painful to get through. And I'm thinking this shouldn't be the case, because essentially I've done all the work. So why is it so long? Why does it take so much to get through and all the rest of it? So we don't want that. It's causing huge amount of confusion. Even though we've got hardly anybody that lives round about that area, it still causes confusion. It could cause confusion to our internal consultees, our external consultees, anybody that's around about there, our senior management, elected members. We constantly tell them this is just house types change, but this is what we don't want to be getting into. Apathy and fatigue we don't want, and I think if we go for a master plan consent, I think we're going to speed up the delivery and get everything as more quickly in place as quickly as we can do. So what's next? When we're processing that, so we're going to update the master plan. I'm going to make, because no matter what you do, a master plan and all the things we're going to do is going to change, because inevitably we do need that school, we don't need that school, we need this, we need that, we don't need a health centre, we do need a health centre. All that kind of stuff's going to happen all the time, and what we need to do is just build in that confidence that it's flexible enough that we can deal with this, and it doesn't take 5 years in which to go through a whole lot of systems again. So 2 consultations going to be Stirling Council led, but and I hope Barrett Redrow are not on there, but they're going to pay for most of this in any case, because at the end of the day it's a partnership, and so these kind of things I'll be expecting them to assist with. Consultation with all stakeholders again, and again we'll have to try and sort of clear up in that sort of confusion, but we'll try our best. Hopefully we get an approval of the master plan and lovely set of conditions, informatives that we all just go, and it's more of a checklist rather than anything else, and then can be in place for 10 years. I think it's something that again provides the certainty, but it can also be looked at and changed. But it is the main thing that I think we've got here is the senior management buy-in and elected member buy-in, because both of them, when you come to your end, your budgets, they're putting an awful lot of stuff on the line as well. And again, back to those numbers I showed you earlier on, they want to start getting that, the money coming in once the houses are there and the guys are, and people are happy in their homes. So my sort of thing and what I want to do in relation to taking Stirling Council in this process is to allow certainty for all, place promotion, faster delivery, and again, the most important thing is that we try and do our bit as planners to do that deliverability to tackle the housing emergency.
That's great. Well, yeah, I just want to say thanks to the National Planning Hub for setting this up, the first webinar on place promotion and housing delivery, and inviting us along today to speak about our experience in the south of Scotland. Hopefully it'll be the first of many webinars where we can share good practice in the ways of working, and hopefully enable us to work more collaboratively as authorities as well. By way of introduction, I am Deborah Armstrong, the lead officer for the Planning Policy and GIS team at Scottish Borders Council. So I'm responsible for overseeing the production of the local development plan, local place plans, the monitoring and research work, and also the GIS team. I've also got Garry Legg with me today, who is the head of strategy within the strategic planning and partnerships team at South of Scotland Enterprise. I must say a huge thanks to Garry, because he stepped in last minute, and we literally had a catch up an hour ago, as his colleague who was meant to do this is actually unfortunately sick today. So yeah, massive thanks to Garry for helping out at the last minute here. So we are going to do a bit of a double act today, so please bear with us if it doesn't quite go to plan. So in terms of place promotion in the south of Scotland, the aim of the webinar today is really to identify ways of working that enable public sector planners to lever their influence to drive investment and development in delivery, particularly in response to the housing emergency. What Garry and I will present today highlights the collaborative work that is ongoing across the south of Scotland that brings together South of Scotland Enterprise, Scottish Borders Council, Dumfries and Galloway Council, and a variety of key stakeholders. We are working collaboratively together to promote both sites and the south of Scotland as a place to develop and invest in, and looking positively at and proactively at how we can work together to overcome barriers to housing delivery. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look a bit at the background context. I'll provide an overview of the housing emergency and the South of Scotland context. I'll then pass over to Garry, who will pick up on the housing action plan. We will provide progress on 4 of those actions, so actions 1, 3, 4 and 5. And finally, I'll come back to myself and we'll look at what are the next steps and opportunities for the South of Scotland. So, as background context, I thought it would be useful on this slide to just set out and recap some of that housing background context. You'll be aware that at a national level, MPF4 sets out the MATLR, the minimum all-tenure house and land requirement for each planning authority. This is set at 4,800 units for the Scottish Borders over a 10-year period. The local development plan then sets out the local house and land requirement. And again, for the Borders, it's 480 units. Our local house and land requirement and our MATLR are actually the same. In line with policy 16 of MPF4, the land allocated within LDPs must be deliverable. The SBC adopted the current LDP in August 2024, and we are currently progressing work on the evidence report for the new style LDP. Dumfries and Galloway adopted their LDP in October 2019, and their evidence report is currently at the gate check. The third box there relates to the house and land audit process. So the house and land audits then monitor the progress of allocated sites and the completions annually. Within the Scottish Borders most recent audit, there are over 8,000 units within the established house and land supply. So this demonstrates that within the Borders, the land allocated is well in excess of our local house and land requirement that was set out within the adopted plan. Moving on to the delivery of these sites, the delivery programme then sets out how the council will implement the LDP, and it also sets out and establishes a pipeline of housing land set out over a short, a medium and longer term period. What we're going to look at today really builds upon this fourth line, the delivery programme aspect, and focuses on how we implement LDPs and overcome constraints to housing delivery, taking a proactive and collaborative approach to the delivery across the south of Scotland. As Kate touched upon earlier, as well as the Scottish Government, both Scottish Borders Council and Dumfries and Galloway Council have declared housing emergencies. Although there is a vast land supply across the south of Scotland, the completion rates remain very, very low, especially for market housing delivery. There are a variety of reasons and factors for this slower delivery rate. These include the loss of small house builders, the loss of SME house builders over recent years, limited national developer interest in developing across the south of Scotland, also a shortage of labour and skills. There's also a variety of factors influencing the market and viability, including build costs, material, infrastructure. And cumulatively, this has resulted in a decline in housing delivery across both SBC and Dumfries and Galloway in recent years. However, we're trying to look at this positively, and there are a number of national and local actions already being taken forward. These include the Scottish Government's publication on the Housing Emergency Delivery Plan, and more recently last month, the Housing Emergency Action Plan. As Kate mentioned earlier, the Scottish Government are taking forward a number of work streams through that delivery programme. That includes, as Kate mentioned, the Stalled Sites Short Life Working Group, the Planning Hub Support and the Master Plan Consent Areas work. So Sharon gave a great example of that in the Stirling context. At a local level, Scottish Borders Council have also set up a strategic housing forum and established a housing emergency action plan. What we're going to touch upon today is how we are working together as local authorities and with SOCI and key stakeholders to really overcome the barriers to housing delivery in the south of Scotland, how we're demonstrating partnership working and also building upon the actions that are set out within national plans already published by the government. So some of you will be familiar with the south of Scotland, others not. So I thought it'd be useful just to look at, so where does the south of Scotland cover that we're going to be talking about today. So it isn't just Scottish Borders Council context. Although I work at Scottish Borders, we're also going to be looking at the area that covers Dumfries and Galloway. So it stretches right from the northeast of the borders in Eyemouth, right along the border with England to the south, and across to Stranraer in the west, within Dumfries and Galloway. The population of these rural authorities is over 270,000 people, so it is quite a lot of people within that area, and it actually covers a fifth of all of Scotland's landmass, so it's quite a large area in the context of Scotland. We have 19,000 units at least in our established land supply between both councils, so that is well in excess of our house and land requirements. So we know there's the land, we know there are opportunities, and I think what we're hoping to demonstrate today is our partnership working between SBC, Dumfries and Galloway, South of Scotland, and the Regional Economic Partnership. There's a growing economy across the south of Scotland, which is reinforced by being part of the Borderlands Inclusive Growth Deal and being Scotland's first natural capital innovation zone as well. We also have Tweed Bank located within close proximity to Galashiels in the Borders. That's identified as a strategic site within the Edinburgh and South East Scotland City Region deal. So that's going to provide us with a mixture of mixed-use opportunities, including strategic housing and business development. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass you across to Garry, who's going to take us through a couple of slides on the Strategic Action Group on Housing, which both SBC and Dumfries and Galloway have been part of, and run through a few of the actions that we've been working on over probably the last year, I think, Garry.
Perfect.
Okay. Just let me know when you need me to hit the slide.
Okay, thanks, Deborah. Yeah, as Debbie highlights, what we're looking to do in the south of Scotland is take a really proactive and a strategic approach to housing delivery. That's very much being driven by our regional economic partnership and really in direct response to having identified housing as one of what we're calling three grand challenges. So housing, transport, skills, they're real key enablers of everything that we want to achieve. It doesn't matter who we speak to, inward investment, inquiries, people looking to grow. The shortage of housing is acute and really challenging thing. So we need more homes in the south to support that economic growth and that ambition for the well-being economy we want to see. We need more growth to address depopulation and critically to keep an active working age population, but to underpin that future investment as well. So very much coming at this from viewing housing not just as a social housing emergency, but very much an economic housing emergency as well. How we've moved this forward is we've pulled together what we're calling there a strategic action group on housing. That's chaired by SOCI's chair, Professor Russell Griggs. We have very senior elected members on there as well as representative from registered social landlords. We have Scottish Government and one or two others. So a kind of real focused subgroup reporting into the rep, responsible for driving action, and they've put together this action plan to help achieve that. I guess worth saying, really important to know, it is founded in extensive engagement. We haven't hid ourselves away here and come up with a magic kind of action plan. Probably done the most extensive engagement we have ever done across the south of Scotland in terms of specifically talking about housing delivery, speaking to developers, whether they're commercial, speaking to RSL, speaking to infrastructure providers, to planning colleagues, to potential inward investors, to communities, community-led housing, a real breadth and diversity of inputs. What that's enabled us to do is to get the action plan. I'm going to talk you through some of the things we're doing there, which we launched that plan back in July 2024. So it's a really good point in terms of that midpoint now between reviewing the progress we've made. I guess all of that's been really helpful in terms of raising interest, and it's also raised expectations, not just within region, but beyond that in terms of Scottish Government and UK Government as well, which is really, really kind of welcomed. I think, and Deborah, I'm sure you'd agree, it's really succeeded in providing a focus for that real purposeful and targeted collaboration within the region. And this is where I'm going to be bold and stick my neck on the line. I'm not sure there's many places in Scotland at the moment where people are working just as hard and just as collaboratively to really throw the kitchen sink at housing and make some traction. If we skip on, please, Debbie. Yep. I know that's a busy slide, and don't worry, I'm going to talk you through a couple of those actions. But essentially at the heart of our action plan is there's 10 actions in there. It's a 2-year plan with, as we've got there, 10 initial actions and a commitment to respond to new opportunities. No one's naive in thinking, look, we're solving housing in 2 years. This is about making some real meaningful headway and developing stronger foundations from which we can continue to work together to address and make headway against housing as that key challenge. Housing's really complex, it's really busy, there's all kinds of players in it. So again, this is about trying to, what we've, I think, succeeded in doing is not duplicating what's already happening, but we've really kind of worked through to identify where are those areas where if we genuinely work together, we can honestly go further. And by going further, it will have the impact and transformation we want to see. If we skip on. Thanks. So yeah, a couple of actions I just want to talk through in more detail. The first here was about a targeted marketing campaign, and this very much reflects a key theme of the action plan was grow our own. Debbie, you touched again on in terms of, you know, our delivery's fallen away post the previous kind of financial crash. We were delivering about 1,100 homes at its peak. We're now delivering about 500. When you start to look at that and say, okay, what was different then? There is no getting away from, we had a much larger number of SMEs playing their part, contributing. Some of them are roofers and joiners, but hey, they'd see a small site and develop 2 or 3 homes, and the cumulative impact of that was really positive. So we're very much focused, and we'll come on to how we're seeking to attract new players into the region. But really at the heart of this is very much growing our own as well. So we had a really successful campaign, critically developed with industry. We're terrible in agencies for using jargon. You know, do you want to innovate? Do you want to scale up? All of this, we really stripped it back by having worked with industry. Are you looking to take on extra hands? Are you looking for that next big job? Are you looking to develop your first house? And again, another bold claim, I'm going to say there's probably not a Trade Depot or a Dewson's or a Screwfix or other brands available that you can go to across the south of Scotland at the moment and hopefully not see this campaign in your face. It's had a fantastic response in terms of people stepping forward, reaching out to us. Again, we work really closely to kind of make sure, hold on, when people step forward and knock on the door, are we clear about the support we've got? And that support's not just from, again, us as an enterprise agency. We've worked with the councils, we've worked with Business Gateway, we've worked with planners as well, and particularly that pre-application process to make sure that we're ready. And as you can see there from some of the stats, a fantastic kind of reach. And working really hard now to service some of those who've stepped forward. And really encouragingly, a real mix in there, but a number of growing companies that are now well established in terms of wider construction haven't yet done their first house or first housing development, and we're looking to assist them. Some of it just needs some support and mentoring and hand-holding. Some of them, to overcome viability issues, are looking, how can we share the risk? How can we access more attractive financing? And again, we're happy to be that kind of conduit to how we can assist and help with some of that. If we skip on, please, Deborah. Really, really exciting one. Another action was about, again, greater collaboration, but specifically on actual tangible projects. So we've got some really exciting stuff happening in the south, got a number of projects up. I'm just going to give one example in the interest of time here, but what we've been able to do is we've got some really innovative manufacturers in the south of Scotland that are thinking quite radically different in terms of how we build and construct new homes. One of which is Vaso. They use a modular system comprised of composite panels made from, would you believe, recycled glass beads, of which there is an abundance of. Based on feasibility work to date, we know that's coming in about 30% cheaper than traditional build. It's building in about 20% of the time of traditional build. There are all kinds of benefits. They're working very closely with Best at the moment. That's Scotland's Innovation Centre. They've got Innovate UK, very excited. But what we've been able to do is match them in this instance with a really ambitious and bold community who have got a track record of having delivered Scotland's first community-led passive housing. We've jointly funded some feasibility. So put in a community that needs and wants housing and are prepared to be a bit bold, together with a manufacturer that's looking to do things quite differently and looking to accelerate. And we've been fortunate enough to fund some of that early feasibility work to secure additional funding and work that up to planning. Again, other partners have really chipped in. And in terms of, again, a planning example, what we've been able to do in 2 or 3 of them is get the council to really recognise the strategic importance of these as demonstrators from which we can hopefully share and replicate the learning. So what they've been able to do, the local planning authorities, is offer free pre-application advice at the right points to really try and help accelerate and sustain momentum, which is really good. So some genuinely fantastic good things. RSL's really interested in 2 or 3 of them as well, but interestingly, RSLs have been quite open in terms of the regulation they're bound for. They're not ideally placed to kind of lead on some of this. They're absolutely up for innovation. They're absolutely up for doing their part. But what we're finding in the south is just how important community-led housing is in terms of grabbing some of this stuff and moving it forward quite quickly. If we skip on. Debbie, thank you. Student and key worker accommodation, huge issues for us. What we've been able to do on the back of the work and engaging other partners is jointly fund through South of Scotland Community Housing, Scottish Future Trust, both local authorities and SOSE, was to commission some specific evidence on the need for key worker housing in the south of Scotland. We know anecdotally just how difficult a lack of housing is, how much it is constraining growth and expansion plans, how it's frustrating recruitment. But this was our first kind of attempt to really, again, throw the kitchen sink at trying to capture that in an objective and quantifiable evidence-based way. And you know, a brilliant study is available. Again, we could share the links at the end of this, Debbie, but very much reaffirmed what we knew. We heard directly from the employers, I think of about 25,000 staff. We looked at it very much through 2 lenses. One was that very traditional key worker housing, those that are kind of vital to keeping society functioning, NHS, infrastructure providers, etc. But equally at key sectors in our economy as well, and particularly the land-based industry, forestry, agriculture, and hospitality as well, to really unpick that. You know, I think about 10% of a combined workforce of 24,000 said they had direct experience of a lack of housing, really frustrating things as well. So we're now in the action planning phase of that, really keen to kind of use that evidence to really kick forward from. There are some national funds available we've not made the most of in the region, and again that evidence is come to the fore in terms of really supporting us to make a greater plea to get our hands on some of that, to get some stuff off the ground. I'll skip on, I'm acutely conscious of time. I guess really exciting one, and in terms of the theme of today, that kind of place promotion, this one's been a really important one for us. So I mean, in simple terms, you can't choose what's not on the menu, right? the south of Scotland's not been on the menu. Through that engagement, we didn't just speak to people that are here in region, we spoke to people out with the region as well. You know, as to why have they looked at the south? If not, why? What's frustrated them? And we've got a really, really important role here, because frustratingly, probably about 10 miles from where I'm sat here today, and based in Northern England, the development industry is booming, and there is a number of volume and PLC house builders very active there that just haven't made that commitment to cross that line into Scotland. So we really see this work as helping to try and get some of them across into Scotland, using the south as a stepping stone then to move further up. And that's a real priority for us. As Deborah highlighted, land, we have no shortage of land in the south. There is plenty there to go at. What we have is an acute lack of kind of development and industry capacity to take that land on and build it out. So this was very much about putting the south on the map. It was very much targeted, the information in there is targeted at the kind of the boardroom of housing developers, the kind of things that and data that drives their investment decision. To aid us in that, we work with Retty & Co, who were fantastic. This was very much a co-production. I think the inclusion of Retty as well brings that kind of independence as well in terms of the message that sends out. We used it quite cleverly to kind of highlight the data and facts, you know, that help dispel myths. So again, we're speaking to some of the bigger players. You know, we're not interested in the south. You've no sites over 100. We have, and there's a good pipeline of a number of them. We're not interested. The planning experience is awful. You don't get permission if it's not 1.5 story, white render, all nonsense. So again, we filled that prospectus with some really quirky, very modern, you know, fantastic design that shows how open-minded we are. Some of the planning stats, even we were really surprised at. So again, Debbie, on the Scottish Borders side, the percentage of applications determined within the statutory time period, you know, we're punching far above the national average. Critically within all of this as well is demand. What we find speaking to house builders, they're not going out their way to stumble and fall upon us, you know, so they're really looking for us to thrust that demand in their face. So what we have here is hopefully a really good prospectus, printed in glossy terms. I'm taking great delight in getting this in front of as many people as I can. We had a fantastic launch event that was a great opportunity to bring everyone together. And critically, what we're doing is kind of being really proactive at the moment in those that didn't make it along to that event, and going back to that point about those in Northern England, we're probably shamelessly hounding them at the moment in terms of making sure that they are alive to the opportunities in the south of Scotland, what we feel really exciting opportunities to come in and to build homes. Debbie, I think it's back to you.
Yeah, I'm conscious of time, so what I'll do is I'll run through these slides very quickly. And these 3 next slides all relate back to the regional prospectus. I just really wanted to highlight this page of the regional prospectus as it focuses on the growth of our economy, or the potential to grow our economy moving forward across the south of Scotland. So the diagram shows that we have a variety of key developments, key investments and projects within the area, which is ultimately paving the way for new jobs, improved prospects, better connected places as well. So central to that change across the south of Scotland has been securing significant investment through growth deals, which is helping our business to grow and expand and attracting more people to the region. I won't go through all the key projects. They're listed on the side, just I'm conscious of time, but the presentation will be circulated, so you can look at those in more detail if you want to have a flick through the prospectus.
Sorry to interject, Debbie, but a key message within that was very much, if you thought you knew the south of Scotland, think again, look again. It's a fundamentally different place with some really exciting things happening. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that diagram just really highlights and emphasises the potential opportunities for that growth, as Garry said, across the area to attract that investment, and hopefully ultimately the delivery of more housing as well. I'll quickly flick on to the next slide. So the regional prospectus really focuses on high-level strategic opportunities. So it doesn't list every single site that's allocated in the local development plans. Rather, it's focusing on existing transport corridors at higher strategic level. Again, I'll not go into all the examples of this, the side there, but there are a few case studies that are set out within the prospectus, including one in Dumfries itself, and There's also one on the Tweedbank expansion site within the Scottish borders, and that diagram at the bottom of the slide just looks at the potential opportunities along the Gallachiels Tweedbank Melrose corridor within close proximity to two existing railway stations. And the last slide, I quite like this one because it just shows us how well connected and how many opportunities there are, both in Dumfries and Galloway and Scottish borders. So these examples are focused on strategically located sites close to railway stations, motorways and trunk roads. There's 3 settlements identified in Dumfries and Galloway. That's Moffat, Lockerbie and Gretna. Again, we're highlighting the proximity to Carlisle, Edinburgh and Glasgow by driving or train. Within the borders, we're focusing on sites near existing railway stations. So firstly, the allocated sites near the newly opened Reston station, close to Edinburgh and Berwick. Secondly, Stow, which is on the Borders railway line. And lastly, the sites along that Tweedbank Gallachiels corridor near both stations. So again, that highlights the opportunities along the existing transport corridors to ultimately help promote investment in housing delivery within the south of Scotland. And lastly, it's just a quick look at what are the next steps in taking forward the actions set out within the Housing Action Plan. So there are 3 actions that we're currently working on. Action 6, I might come back to Garry on this one because I think Sophie, you're leading on this one at the moment, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think it goes to the point you were making, Sharon. You used the term taking others on the journey. So what we're finding in the south is sometimes, you know, we're really close to all of this. We get the strategic case for why we need more housing. Sometimes those closest to the decisions, ironically, don't get all that. So we're working with RSLs, with councils, with others to really try and get a consistent set of messaging, the narrative cemented in place, and a toolkit to kind of support those promoting housing to try and help bring people with them. Really interestingly, Sharon, on the Stirling example as well, but part of that is that what we're really keen to do is the economic evaluation in case as well. You know, if we get this right and can make some good headway to those 10,000 homes, the economic benefits of that are significant. So helping people to better understand the prize to try and really up that enthusiasm and momentum as well.
Yeah, thanks, Garry. I'll pick up on Action 7. So this presents opportunities for bringing a South of Scotland lens to shape regional and national planning reform. That includes seeking to pilot new approaches and support and work to grow capacity. Again, this is going to be done collaboratively between SOCI, SPC and Dumfries and Galloway. And it's just a bit of I suppose, putting out our interest that there is an offer to pilot plan and action set out within the Scottish Government Housing Emergency Action Plan in Part 3 in terms of supporting the delivery of more homes in rural areas. And we would be very interested in looking at, could we be a pilot for any potential work? And I think that could build in nicely with the national actions and the actions that we've set out in the south of Scotland. So it's just to say that is perhaps something that we can pick up with the Planning Hub and building upon the good work that's already ongoing at the moment. Action 8 is exploring more innovative and effective ways to share and communicate key data as we develop local housing land pipelines. So I think there are potential opportunities on this action to work more collaboratively across local authorities, and that's not only Dumfries and Galloway and SPC, but looking at how we can explore working with other planning services throughout Scotland. Scottish Borders Council are currently exploring the production of a local level housing land perspective. So that's something that we could build upon the existing regional perspective and really drill down into a local level and setting out the sites in a really clear manner, potentially using ArcGIS for that as well. So we have been in discussions with other authorities who've done something similar already, including Aberdeenshire Council, they're also our MPIF partner. So that's been really good at sharing what they've done and helping each other on that journey. So I'm just conscious of time there. So what I'll do is I'll try and wrap up, but hopefully that's provided some useful examples of ongoing work across the south of Scotland that is demonstrating some of that proactive, collaborative and partnership working that's ongoing in terms of the housing emergency and housing delivery. And I suppose the aim of what we're talking about today is ultimately to try and overcome those barriers to housing delivery and promote the region is very much open for business. So yeah, thanks. I know that's slightly over. And we've also got a final slide on useful links that will be circulated with all those documents.